I would always talk about, well, let me start reading books and let me learn new skills and go to the gym and work out and just run to the light. This piece of reinvention in this season requires shadow work. Welcome to The Art of Being Freed, where we talk about growth mindset for creators and all things in between. And welcome back to The Art of Being Freed, where we are looking at going into 2025 with absolute momentum. And the way that you get there is that you have to reinvent yourself. And I want to talk about how you can reinvent yourself, but I want to apply a different mindset and perspective to it, because people talk about reinventing themselves and it's usually from a physical appearance perspective. It's not necessarily digging deep and diving deep. So as I get more experience with age, I'm trying to frame that correctly. I always look at ways to change and redefine how I'm reinventing myself, because this has been a grind of a year. It's been a grind of a year. You know, the podcast has been doing well. I took a break from it. I stopped sharing after sharing every single day consistently for 2 years. I took a 45-day break. And in that 45 days, the idea was about reinvention in many areas of my life. So I'll share these areas with you. And if you find some inspiration in them, awesome. Share with people who can vibe. But the first piece of reinventing or reinvention, I would always talk about, well, let me start reading books and let me learn new skills and go to the gym and work out and just run to the light. This piece of reinvention in this season requires shadow work. So what is shadow work? People throw the term shadow work around often, and I first heard it from a gentleman named Carl Jung. Shadow work is a process of exploring and acknowledging parts of yourself that you have repressed or ignored, such as trauma or undesirable personality traits. The goal is to integrate these parts into your whole self and to understand yourself and the world around you better. I mentioned Carl Jung. The concept of shadow work was developed by psychoanalyst Carl Jung, who believed that the shadow self is a counterweight to the persona or the self you present to others. Jung theorized that the shadow self can include negative impulses, but also has the potential for positive ones like creativity. Shadow work can help you identify and regulate your emotions, improve self-esteem and self-acceptance, strengthen relationships, learn healthy coping mechanisms, and recognize and modify self-sabotaging behaviors. Okay, so that's what shadow work is. That's a lot. That's a lot that I just threw at you. But often when I am looking to reinvent myself in some way, I go, I do my thing, I'm at it. It may last for some time. It could be like, hey, this reinvention is set in stone and we're rocking and rolling. And then all of a sudden I go back. I take steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I've realized, because we all have trauma as a human, living a human experience, we are going to suffer things that, are out of our control. We're going to have loss of, people in our lives. And sometimes, like for me, I have neglected to confront certain things in my life, certain behaviors in my life until recently, as I've taken this time away to work on me. Right? My friend told me when he did shadow work, he worked on shadow work for years. And he said he started having nightmares. And it was crazy because I had one last night and it was wild. I'm going to tell you my dream last night. So I had a dream last night and, I'm making all these improvements in my life. I am super healthy. I'm eating clean. I'm working out. I'm getting my steps in. I'm being more involved in my family and in my relationships. And I'm on my nurture mode right now. And as I do this, there have been times where I've been tempted to do things that I know are like self-destructive. And I was doing those self-destructive things, even in the midst of, doing all these great things. There's still habits that I've had that have been hard to break, or I'll break them for a small time and I hop right back on. And I had a nightmare, the dream. I won't say it was a nightmare. A nightmare to me means like monsters and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking in the mirror. I'm looking really good. I'm clean shaven. I got all these muscles. I just look like a fine version of myself. As I'm looking in the mirror, I see somebody next to me. So I get scared, like, who the heck is next to me? And when I turn and look, it's this old version of me. And this old version of me grabs me and I get shivers as I say this. This old version of me grabs me, this new version of me, and pulls me back into himself. Okay? That's wild. When you talk about reinventing yourself, you have to confront the things that are holding you back from being your best self. I've noticed that I'm speaking my mind more. I'm being more of who I am. I'm naturally gifted at making people laugh. The hardest people, I've been in rooms with super gangsters, and I've got this corny cartoon shirt on, and I'm making them laugh because I'm just a dope personality to be around, right? So I noticed I got away from that because as I grew older and I lost people in my life, and just situations change, relationships change, life changes, people change in your life, people switch up on you. You start to lose faith in situations, not faith in God, but just faith and trust in situations. And it makes you more reserved, makes you more hard. You're more guarded with the parts of yourself that you share because of these traumas that you're kind of internally holding on to. So when we talk about reinventing yourself, it really should start with confronting your shadow. So if I have a dream like that, and that old version of me that I'm working the shed with the stubble and the crazy hairline and all that, it was basically Us. If you ever seen the movie Us, it was essentially an Us version of me that came and grabbed me and pulled me into himself. And it was just wild. And when I woke up in the middle of the night, I was just like, woof. You know, I always look at the bathroom door just to make sure it's closed. I don't sleep with the bathroom door open. I don't like sleeping with any doors open. And I immediately knew I was on the right track. I was like, yes, I'm on the right track. So if you want to reinvent yourself, you can practice shadow work on your own. Obviously, if you're suffering from severe trauma, go and see a therapist or a counselor. That's something I've done. I've got my first appointment is coming up. So, you know, they will help guide you through it. I have a very complex mind, so I just want to make sure that I'm speaking with a professional that, you know, has handled complex minds previously. Here's some ways that you can, you know, incorporate shadow work on a positive side. So we'll end this call on a positive note, right? Thinking about something you really want and then journaling about why you don't want it. That's a way that you can work on the shadow work on your own. Another way is you can ask yourself what you're afraid will happen if your dreams come true. I sometimes will shy away from success for whatever reason. I notice as people start to follow me or you know, I start to gain traction, I like the attention, but I don't, and I'll fall back. And I mean, that just happened. I did a really dope interview with Aaron Thomas, and you know, we were vibing, and then I let life kind of take over and I got offline, and I didn't get to promote that interview the way I would have wanted. So I have to ask myself, like, what am I afraid of that will happen when my dreams come true? Because I know they will, and I need to be able to confront those fears, because otherwise I won't be ready for when that happens. Look at all these people that had their dreams come true suddenly, and they're not prepared. And then all this drama happens and there's a negative fallout. So ask yourself. Here's another question to ask yourself. And this is all in the spirit of reinvention as we get ready to land the plane, as they say in this industry, on this conversation, The Art of Being Freed, where we talk about growth mindset for creatives. Make sure you're liking this. Ask yourself what you're trying to avoid. What are you trying to avoid? Like, man, for me, sometimes I just want to create and I don't really care for the fanfare, but then I get mad when none of the fanfare shows up. So I need to figure out what exactly am I looking for, right? Like, what am I trying to avoid and what am I looking for? And then asking yourself what emotions you need to feel for your dream to come true. Okay. This is just a quick, like little Google search. So essentially, the best way to reinvent yourself by incorporating shadow work is to engage in self-reflection, do a lot of journaling, incorporate therapy if you can. If you're watching this and you're a little older, you've never had therapy. I've had a lot of women in my life talk to me about therapy that I'm very close to. I've never been against therapy. You know, it's not a man or woman thing, but there are some strong women that have been in my ear saying, hey, you should try it. You know, and apparently it's very difficult. My sister says it's like moving into a new house and unpacking. It's going to be a mess at first, but eventually everything's clean. So therapy, and then other forms of growing your self-understanding and awareness. The idea of shadow work is that you're doing this in the sense of bringing the unconscious elements of your psyche into the light. And this is going to be into clear awareness. That's what it's all about. And over these last few weeks, I've just noticed, specifically this past week, my awareness is crystal clear. Like I'm very sharp, very on point. And a lot of it just has to do with being disciplined about certain things. You're going to have disappointments. One of my mentors says that you should learn how to discipline your disappointments. But if you can confront these things, these shadow things, I just gave you a little bit to like kind of start with when it talks about shadow work. And then I'll have the book pop up here too, by Carl Jung, a really good book to get. It's like $7 on Amazon. This gentleman was, not an accomplice. What's the word I'm looking for? An associate of Sigmund, Freud, who you talk about like the Freudian slips and stuff like that. It comes from that. So this is like the deepest levels of psychology, and analyzing the mind. So I'm not playing around when it comes to this. Like, I'm not going to get on here like in the past, like I said before, and tell you, yeah, go work out and you got to, get some more sleep and, just do things like that. And then you'll reinvent yourself right away. And maybe you will, but I'm telling you, it's if you don't confront the shadow, it's going to recede. Whatever progress you have may recede. So confront that shadow and allow it to coexist. For me, this is just the next level in my mindset development, and I just want to share it with you. So if you like this video, this is Free with the Art of Being Freed. Make sure you share this with people. I don't do a good enough job of promoting this. I do a lot of posting and ghosting, and then I'll come back and be like, hopefully I got some views. You know what I'm saying? So why do I do that? I got to find out. That's part of this shadow. What am I so afraid of? When I'm anywhere in the world, I am dope and people gravitate to me. Anywhere in the world, okay? Anywhere in the world, when I walk into a room, people are like, yo, what's up? But there's something that's holding me back from being my absolute most confident self. And that's in the shadow work. And that's what I'm confronting. So what's in your shadow? That's for you to explore. Leave a like, share this video. Until next week, this is your boy Freed with the Art of Being Freed. I appreciate you coming through, and I will see you soon. Peace.